So Michael Burry has recently come out with some pretty bold predictions for the economy, and if you don't know who that is, you should definitely go watch The Big Short. Great movie, but he basically shorted the '08 housing crash and made a bunch of money. So he's got some bold predictions for us for the economy, and I'm going to go over them in this video and give you my opinion on it. So stick around. I'm That Agent Kelly. I post Canadian real estate content. I post every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. And if you'd like to book a call with me to chat about your real estate options or whatever it may be, you can scroll down into the description, click on that link, and book yourself right into my calendar. So recently, Michael Burry has come out with a tweet, and I'm going to throw it up on the screen right here. He says, "Inflation peaked, but it is not the last peak of this cycle. We are likely to see CPI lower, possibly go negative in the second half of 2023, and the US is in recession by any definition." He says that because they changed the definition of what a recession actually is. Fed will then cut interest rates and the government will stimulate and we will have another inflation spike. It's not hard. So first off, let's talk about Michael Burry. And in my opinion, I think it's quite ridiculous how the media still brings this guy up every single day because of something he did 15 years ago in 2008. Now, I like Michael Burry, and obviously he's a very smart man. He's much, much smarter than me, and I have a lot of respect for him. But I'm just explaining that I do think this is quite ridiculous that this is still happening. And you never hear about any of his successes that have happened in the last 15 years. Never hear about all the times he shorted something else at the top of the market in the last 15 years. Just the one time he did it back in '08. And on the screen here, this is Michael Burry shorting Tesla back in May 2021, and this is what the price of Tesla did after he opened that short. So unless he opened and closed that short in a rather quick time period, he likely took a loss on this or got stopped out. But either way, it doesn't matter if he took a loss or made money or what the case may be. What does matter is that the media is sensationalizing fundamentally bad investing. The reason why everybody loves Michael Burry's '08 short is because it was a completely reckless move that ended up paying off. I'm not a fan of that decision, even though it paid off huge, is because it's fundamentally bad investing. And if you look at the top people in any industry or field, they're usually very fundamentally sound and have a set of rules that they live by. So let's put Michael Burry's short into NBA terms. Basically, what he did in the dying seconds of the fourth quarter, instead of going for the easy layup to tie the game, is he decided to shoot a three-pointer from his own paint in double coverage and actually sunk the ball. So yes, Burry won the game, but ultimately this is not championship basketball. So anyways, let's get into his tweet. But first, please do subscribe if you enjoy content like this and drop me a like so I can get this video out to more people who care about content like this. Anyways, what's my opinion on his tweet? I actually do think this is a pretty good prediction and has a very decent probability of becoming true. So basically, to translate this tweet and put it into layman's terms for the people out there that do not understand, he's saying that the Fed has over-tightened. They've raised rates much too fast without letting the CPI data populate because it is a lagging indicator. And once it does start to populate, it will drop much quicker than expected. And we will actually enter into a stage of deflation, which sounds good, but we really don't want that to happen. So there's three types of inflation, I guess. There's inflation, which we all know, and then there's disinflation. And disinflation means that inflation is still happening, just not as fast. So instead of inflation being 5%, it might be 3%, and that would be disinflation. Deflation is where that 5% inflation rate actually goes to -2%. This would mean that goods and services are actually getting cheaper. And I think inflation's kind of a confusing concept, so I'm just gonna break this down real quick. A lot of people think when we talk about the rate of inflation going down is that goods and services will actually get cheaper, which is not the case. It just means that the rate of which goods and services are getting more expensive slows down, but they're still getting more expensive every year. So by the Fed raising rates and trying to slow the economy to get inflation down, things aren't actually going to get cheaper. They're going to continue to get more expensive, just at a slower rate. When we get deflation, it's extremely bad for the economy because deflation can actually lead to a downward spiral of economic activity slowing down and the price of everything going down. When prices start going down, the psychology of a consumer will be, well, why would I buy such and such right now when the prices are going down and it'll probably be cheaper next week? I'm not gonna buy a bicycle right now because it'll be cheaper 2 weeks from now, which will lead to a decrease in demand, which then leads to a further decrease in prices. So the prices will go down because the prices are going down. Do you see the problem here? Which then leads to businesses cutting costs and layoffs, and literally nothing good comes from this. So deflation is not what we want. So back to what Burry was saying, once deflation kicks in, the Fed will then have to jump in, cut interest rates, stimulate the economy, which is exactly what happened in 2009. I think inflation went to negative 0.36%. Then they jumped in, cut rates, so on and so forth. And we actually had something very similar happen in the 70s. I will throw up the chart right here so you guys can see what happened. You can see we kind of had a double top, double peak in inflation back in the late 70s to early 80s. So I don't disagree with Burry on this. I think this is actually a pretty decent prediction. I also think another very real probability is we don't ever get inflation down to the Fed's target of 2%, and it only comes down to about 4% before we're in a position where we have to cut rates. And maybe we let inflation run a little bit higher for the next 5 years or something like that. The Fed's target inflation rate has always been 2%, but if you actually look at what inflation has done historically, they have not even been able to hit that target maybe one time in the last 11 years, or I guess 10 years, they've hit a 2% rate of inflation. And every other year, we've actually been lower than 2%. So if we ran at 3% or 4% for the next 5 years, we might actually come close to a 15-year average of 2%. So I think that's a possibility as well, but I'm not an economist and I'm just guessing, and I'm just a realtor from Abbotsford. But another thing is nobody really knows where they've got this 2% inflation rate from. It's almost kind of a made up number where they're just like, we think the economy will operate best at 2% inflation, but we've never really tried letting it run at 3% or 4% or another number. So who knows if there's another optimal number for the rate of inflation. We've just always went with 2%. But I don't know, just something I heard and something to think about. Anyways, there's Michael Burry's tweet and my opinion of his tweet. If you want to book a call with me, you know what to do. Scroll down, click that link, book yourself into my calendar. And again, please do subscribe if you enjoyed videos like this. Stick around for more. Drop me a like to help me out in the algorithm. And yeah, I appreciate you guys. We'll see you on the next video.